Two.
Phil, you hear me? We'll open it up from here because I don't know what kind of connection. Phil, you here?
You hear me now?
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Good evening and welcome into Sports Talk here on South Carolina Radio Network. Kevin McCrary and the Professor Tom Hayes with you in our Columbia studios here in Main Street in downtown Columbia, the Main Street of sports here on Sports Talk. We are, like a lot of you, trying to decalibrate after that game, recalibrate after that game. Some Clemson fans are probably trying to rehabilitate after that really entertaining national championship game last night. The Tigers, they put it all on the line. They had it all out there. They had their opportunities. They were in control of that game. They had Alabama on the ropes. They did really everything right except for win the game. That's a big but. However, that said, Clemson, an outstanding performance by the Tigers in a losing effort. Went toe-to-toe, certainly proved they belong. If those two teams had to play again next week, I think the line would be a lot less than 7 points. But at the end of the day, Alabama's your national champion. Clemson's the runner-up. But the Tigers have a lot to build on. We will have Kornblut on with us here momentarily as he makes his way back from Glendale, Arizona. First of all, I have to give you mad props. You sat here on this show and said, look out for O.J. Howard. O.J. Howard could be an X factor in this game. He could have a big game, a big, strong, fast tight end, and you were right, Pro. So kudos.
Well, it's really, if you look at Nick Saban's history, especially when he's won championships, even at LSU, and now he's got Lane Kiffin with him, he's always been able to watch and see and self-scout and say, I wonder what Clemson is working on. They're going to try to stop this. They're going to try to stop this. Oh, okay. Guy we underutilized. And then he puts his finger on that. And then that's when he pokes them with. And it's incredible how he does that. But I tell you what, Howard did anything last night, he'd give Lane Kiffin a big hug because I believe he made that tight end some money last night because the NFL looks at somebody 6'6" and that type. And I thought really on the touchdown, I don't know who the corner was. Maybe you can remind me. I think he misjudged the speed.
No, there's no doubt. And that was Alexander was out at that point. And that was right. He was a game time decision. He got about a half in before he had hamstring issues and had to leave. Shaq Lawson played the entire game, played well. Kevin Dodd was just a game changer out there. And Clemson's defensive line got the better of the Alabama offensive line for most of the night. The same things. You kind of are what you are 15 games into the season, obviously. And what were some of the things that plagued Clemson? Special teams plagued Clemson, especially the return game. They gave up 3 kickoffs for a touchdown over the course of the season, including last night. Also, turnovers, winning the turnover battle. They did not win the turnover battle last night. And gash plays, those big plays on defense. They played so well most of the game defensively, but a handful of those big plays cost them, as they tend to do in big-time championship games.
One, two, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Connecting for me. Tell me if you hear me now. We hear you. Now we don't. Okay. All right. I don't know why I don't see any audio meter moving here when I'm hear me. Okay. So have them bring me in here, and we'll roll. We'll roll here. I'm on batteries. I'm gonna watch out of this as we can.
We're breaking down the national championship game. What a great game it was. I know Clemson fans are disappointed they didn't win the national championship. I don't think they're disappointed with how their team performed or played. I think most Clemson fans walked out of that game, turned it off last night or early this morning, whenever it ended officially, and felt really good and proud of how the Tigers performed. That game itself, from just a fan standpoint, will go down as one of the top games in national championship history. I'd imagine that one will make the old instant classic rotation. It'll be showed many times. It came down to just a few plays. There were lead changes. There was momentum shifts, lots of different ebbs and flows. It was special teams, the onside kick, a beautifully executed, beautifully called onside kick by Nick Saban and Alabama. The kickoff return for a touchdown that ended up turning it. And again, those aforementioned big plays that we talked about in the first segment. And that was too much for Clemson to overcome, despite the fact that over 500 yards of offense, despite the fact that Deshaun Watson was the best player on the field, including Heisman Trophy winner Derrick Henry. He was incredible, as anybody that's watched him play. If they have any questions about Deshaun Watson now, well, that's on you. There's something wrong with you. There's nothing else that kid can do to prove that he is the best player in college football. You take Deshaun Watson off that Clemson football team, they're still a very good team. They're a team that wins 9 or 10 games. But with Deshaun Watson, they're a team that almost won a national championship. That's how good he is, what kind of X factor he is. Do we have Kornblut with us? All right, let's try to bring Kornblut in. He is, I think, somewhere in the middle of the desert, making his way back from Arizona. We got out of the stadium really early this morning. Lots of good stuff on our website. A lot of it we'll hear on the program tonight in terms of post-game reaction from Dabo Swinney and Deshaun Watson and others. But Korn, what a special night it was for Clemson. Almost a historic night. Their date with destiny. The clock struck midnight just a little early on their dream season.
You're right, K-Mac, and it's good to be with you guys. Hopefully you hear me okay. I am on my way back from Phoenix, flying out of Las Vegas later tonight, early tomorrow morning. I stopped at this little Chinese buffet place at an area called Area 51. Don't know if you've ever heard of it, but I figure the food might be very good. Chinese buffet, Area 51. A lot of strange people walking around. But anyway, yeah, Clemson, they gave it all they had. And it just boiled down to a great coaching decision by Nick Saban, the right call at the right time, and the perfect execution. That turned the game in Alabama's favor after Clemson had gone into the fourth quarter with the lead, and Clemson had won 51 straight games with the lead going into the fourth quarter. And Alabama ties it up. Then they get the onside kick. Then the big play down the field and the touchdown. Clemson responds with the field goal, and then Alabama gets the kickoff return for the touchdown. That gave Alabama the working margin it needed and really put Clemson behind the 8 ball. You guys were correct in what you were talking about. Some of the things that had hampered Clemson during the season, and they were few, but a couple of them, kickoff coverage. They had given up 2 previous kickoff returns for touchdowns, and they had given up some other long returns during the season. And the gash plays. And, boy, Alabama really had the big play machine going last night. Howard was fantastic. Alabama, I thought Clemson, after the 50-yard run that they gave up on the first score, I thought they did a pretty good job on Henry. I know he still rushed for another 100 yards and finished with 150 yards, but it took him 30 carries to get it. I thought they did a decent job there defensively, even took him down for some losses through the game. But the quarterback was really sharp for Alabama. He threw the ball extremely well. Even though they sacked him 5 times, they never could really get him rattled. So, a good, solid performance by Alabama. That game could have gone either way until the fourth quarter when Alabama surged and kind of took control. So I know it was a disappointing night for Clemson, even though Dabo likes to say that they'll be back, and he feels like they'll be back in the situation next year. You have no guarantee. Ohio State thought they'd be back after last year. They thought they'd be back this year. So you have no guarantee. You don't know what's going to happen with injuries. You don't know what's going to happen with bad breaks, etc. That's why when you come this close, guys, and you don't get the brass ring, it really hurts, because the nature of the nature of the sport, you have no guarantee that you're going to be back there next year.
Well, the interesting thing about it, and ironic, K-Mac, is the fact that, let's face it, Clemson's kryptonite had been in the ACC, Florida State. You dispatch them, and then you end up here's a Florida State transfer. Back up to Jameis Winston, and still there's a tincture of Florida State on the field that comes back to haunt you in Coker.
Yeah, he made the plays when he had to. He was a statue back there for a good portion of that game, and Clemson was just teeing off on him and really had him flustered. But the big plays, and like Corn mentioned, that was kind of the bugaboo for that defense through a good chunk of the season. They gave up big plays against North Carolina. They gave up big plays against South Carolina. I was at Syracuse and watched them give up big plays. And North Carolina has a very good offense, so really not a lot of shame there. But South Carolina's offense and Syracuse, they were playing a walk-on quarterback at South Carolina, a guy that was making his first start for Syracuse. There were definitely some chinks in the armor there on that Clemson defense, but no question they had a lot of talent. Mackenzie Alexander going out hurt them, obviously, in the second half as well. But Corn's right. They're a team that's going to be the preseason pick by a lot of people to win the national championship next year. And if Deshaun Watson stays healthy, if he stays healthy, that's a pretty darn good pick because Watson is the X factor. What he does on third down plays, he just makes it look so easy. I mean, even if they get behind schedule, even if they lose 4 yards on first down or second down, and they're facing 2nd and 15, he'll pick up 6 yards like it's nothing, and then another 7 yards like it's nothing to pick up a first down. He is very good, and watching him go head to head against the guy who won the Heisman, and the guy that everybody considers the best player in college football, and Derrick Henry is amazing. So the size of him, seeing him stand next to Mark Ingram in the postgame and the other Heisman winner from Alabama and see how much bigger Henry is. But Deshaun Watson was the best player on that field, and it wasn't even close. I mean, he was the best player on that field, and Alabama didn't have an answer for him. And even at the end, when the game was essentially out of reach, Deshaun Watson gave a lot of people a bad beat. There's some people that aren't Clemson fans or Alabama fans that are feeling miserable today because of that last touchdown that Deshaun Watson threw to bust the spread open there. Or maybe some people are feeling great, depending on who they took. But certainly, Corn, his performance, one for the ages in a losing cause there in that national championship game. And Clemson can go a long way with him next year, with Artavis Scott back next year. They already said Jordan Leggett's going to be back. You got Mike Williams that's going to be back. The defense is losing some pieces, but they should be solid. If Watson's healthy, I think Clemson's right back in that spot next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, again, look at the schedule. They do have to open up at Auburn, but that doesn't look formidable at this particular time. And then they've got their ACC schedule. They do have to go to Florida State. There does not appear to be a no along the road for them next year. Today in college football, it starts with the quarterback. If you've got a great one, then you've got a great chance. And yes, he was clearly the best player on the field. He looked completely in control. He appeared to be able to do whatever he wanted to, throwing or running. He had the one mistake where he didn't see the defensive back. He was trying to fit it in a tight window. He got intercepted. It led to a touchdown. That certainly hurt. But you got Watson back, and you got some other in to go along with what's coming back. They should be just fine on offense next year.
All right, bottom of the hour break here. We've got some calls coming here. We've got a lot of audio, post-game reaction from Clemson. Your reaction as well coming up on Sports Talk. We had a few callers hang up during the break, so we are open for your phone calls. 800-956-7 Clemson fans, your thoughts on the game last night, your thoughts on where the Tigers stand going forward. I can tell you that ESPN way too early college football poll for 2016, that's what they call it, the way too early poll. They have Clemson number 1 in that ranking and Alabama number 2. So already people are putting the Tigers ahead of Alabama next season. Baylor is 3rd. Michigan and Oklahoma round out the top 5. And, Corn, you were there. I was watching on television, and Nick Saban's always an intriguing person to watch and his reactions in game. We tweeted some of his reactions. He actually smiled during the game after that onside kick. It's captured for posterity on the internet.
That was a smile of relief.
Never seen him smile during a game before. But he's always been stoic. Even after wins a few years ago, he got Gatorade doused and he yelled at his players for it. He was a little salty-eyed out there last night, Corn.
Yeah, it's hard to explain why. I don't know if, people are trying to read something into it, like, hey, this is the end of the line for him in Alabama. He's ready to take on new horizons. I mean, how does he keep his edge? He's won 4 national championships at Alabama, 5 overall. I don't know. He didn't. There's nothing coming out of Tuscaloosa to indicate that anybody's worried about him going anywhere else at this point. Obviously, the NFL would be one thing. I don't know. Maybe the Giants might swoop in and try and get him. I don't know. Maybe he was just relieved knowing where he is considered a failure if you don't win the national championship. It's a shame that that's how it is, but that's how it is at Alabama. That might be really the only place in the country with that mindset right now. I guess it's the equivalent of Duke and North Carolina and Kansas basketball, where if you don't win the national championship, the entire season has been a waste. So maybe it was just that and the way that they pulled it out, because it was a very, very difficult win for them. Listen, Clemson did not back down. Clemson was very physical, matched up with them player for player. It was like a couple of heavyweights exchanging punches. One would deliver a punch, the other would come back with a punch. Neither could knock the other one out. The onside kick stunned Clemson, no doubt about it. Continuing with the boxing analogy, it stunned them. And it gave Alabama just enough time while Clemson was kind of refocusing. They went on a 17-3 run there during that period. In about 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, Alabama went from 3 down to up a comfortable margin. And Clemson just, they could score, but then Alabama would come back down and score. They needed to get a stop. Clemson did. And I think the biggest disappointment, if you're a Clemson fan, is that your defense, which had been so stout all year, couldn't figure out how to stop Alabama, and especially couldn't figure out how to cover the tight end.
We are loaded up with calls, so we're going to run right to them after the break. Hang tight, pay the price. Your phone calls, your reaction coming up next on Sports Talk.
Okay, good deal.
Sports Talk coming to you live from Columbia, and Kornblut making his way back from Glen en route, traveling back towards the airport, but on with us as well. And you can join us, 800-956-7266. If you get a busy signal, just keep trying. We're loaded up right now. We're going to take as many calls as we can. We're going to drop in audio as well and let you hear from Dabo Swinney, Deshaun Watson, and others as we traverse through the show here. But let's go to the phones here. We had a Dylan for our first call tonight, and Robert on the line.
Yeah, fellas. Two things. Corey Miller. If last night is an example of blowing the doors off the hinges, then nobody needs to be concerned about any tornadoes anytime soon. It won't be anything bad to experience. And secondly, I understand his son plays for Alabama. Does he even get on the field? I didn't hear his name mentioned a time.
He's special teams.
Yeah, he's a sophomore.
No, actually, he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah, that's right. He redshirted last year. Yeah, so he's a redshirt freshman. He played a little bit against Michigan State, but we're going to keep the family out of it now. Christian Miller didn't. That's his name, and he doesn't speak for his father. His father doesn't speak for him. So we're not going to insult the offspring of people that we disagree with.
Well, that's good. I agree with that. That's where it ought to be. But the father needs to kind of be a little bit more like his son, I think, and kind of stay in the background.
Well, here's the problem.
Enjoy your show.
Thank you, man.
Enjoy
Thank
your show
you.
very much.
Here's the problem with the pastor. If you complain about what he says, he's just going to get louder because he knows you hear the nerves. So that's the way he deals. That's the way he rolls.
At the end of the day, it's just sports. Yeah. It's nothing personal. And Clemson, they proved that they belonged on that field. There's nobody that is going to question whether Clemson is among the best teams. You can't say, oh, they didn't play anybody. They played a lot of good teams. Notre Dame was a very good football team. Florida State, a very good football team. North Carolina was a solid football team. They were tested. They got everybody's best shot, and they still went 14-1, and they had Alabama on the ropes. They were a play really from winning that game. They recover that onside kick. They cover a kickoff when they had the ball corn up 3. That was their opportunity there. Late in the third quarter, they had Alabama in the danger zone. They go down there the way they're moving the ball, get a touchdown, and they get the double-digit lead and tee off on Coker. Different ball game, but Alabama, their experience, that's 4 national championships in 7 years. You can't coach that kind of experience.
That's why I say that I thought this would be a heavyweight fight, and I said that Friday night with a technical knockout by Alabama. Both would be standing. One would get it just because they went on points, and I was talking about body blows. The interesting thing about it is Deshaun Watson's presence on the field already negates one of Alabama's biggest weapons because their defensive line played prevent defense last night. They weren't going to rush in willy-nilly because they knew if they did, Watson would come out on the other side. And even though they played the lanes, it's like Watson has several eyes in the back of his head, and he knows exactly where to turn and go if his primary receivers aren't open.
We head to Somerville and Ron on the line from Somerville.
Yes. Hi. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing well.
Good. I'll keep it brief because I got to hang up the phone in a couple minutes. But I had a strategy question for you. As much as I saw third down and fair medium to long, 7 to 10 yards that we needed, Deshaun would have to scramble out of that pocket, and he would dart over towards the sideline and seemed like he wasn't even in a hurry. He'd get that 7, 8, 9, 10 yards, just enough for that first down. Most of the time he wasn't even touched. But it seemed to me like they ran a number of plays, numerous plays, where they tried to hammer up the middle. And even in third and fourth quarter, I saw a few of them, and they never seemed to do much of anything in the middle. It just seems to me like, if we're going to try and run to balance out against the passing attack, Why spend so much time going where we're only getting a yard or getting caught up and, caught for a loss? Why not go more to the outsides?
Corn, what was your thought on that when you were watching it there?
There's corn.
Do we have?
I will tell you this. Part
of
a strategy is the play caller looks at the entire game, and it's almost like the old adage. The defense.
I thought it was great.
All right, yeah, Corn's line's obviously.
Yeah, it's almost like you got to keep the defense honest, because if you continue to the outside, they're going to shift the defense over there, and maybe you don't have the good field position or the good plays you have from the outside if you don't test the middle from time to time.
Yeah, you got to keep calling those plays, and sometimes they're to set up another play, just to give them that look to set something else up. So that's why you do it, and even if it doesn't look like it's working, it might be helping something else to work. That's usually what a play caller will tell you anyway. Can't speak for Jeff Scott and Tony Elliott. Their phones here, and we hope to reconnect with Corn. As his line's a little bit in and out as he makes his way. He's actually in transit right now, so we'll reconnect with him whenever we can. Larkin, let me know there. We go to North Augusta. Ronnie on the line. Hello, Ronnie. Welcome in.
Hey, fellas. I just wanted to let Pro know, but I decided to cancel my extended European vacation. I'm giving him the tickets because thank God he didn't call Brent Venables and tell them to watch out for the tight end. Pro, I got to give you credit. You called that one. And one quick question. On the onside kick, when Alabama recovered the onside kick, what was Dabo complaining about? I mean, he goes running out onto the field. I know he likes to get his TV time, but was there something he actually thought he had a complaint about?
There is a rule in the rule that because that's why you got to see the guys kick the onside kick with a squib, Ronnie, because you have to. It has to be on the ground, but in the essence, if a kick is in the air, you have to give the receiving team a chance to catch it. But the ruling is, the extended rule is this: if that person, if there's nobody in the vicinity of the ball, then the team that kicked the ball can catch it, and that's what happened.
Right, and people, Dabo after the game said he was arguing the same case that he made because against South Carolina last year in Death Valley, not this past season, but the game in Death Valley. Clemson ran that play on the Gamecocks, and the Gamecocks got the ball because they said the officials said you have to give him a chance to catch it. And that play, as I recall, South Carolina was calling for a fair catch. The ball was squibbed up in the air like that, and the guy was calling for a fair catch, and Clemson went and grabbed it before he could make the play. In this case, there was nobody there. Nobody called for a fair catch. So it is a live ball at that point, and that's why Alabama was able to pull that off. It was not illegal. Now, I believe it was J-Ron Curse that was over there on that side, and everybody was kind of squeezed inside there, and they saw it. Had he been able to get over there, or had he put his hand up in the air and called for a fair catch, that would have been a different scenario. But he was caught off guard, and he was backing up, and you see teams do this. They start backing up to cover the kick, and Alabama saw it. So it was a great play call. It was just a great play call and great execution there by Alabama to pull that off. It's one thing to call a play like that when you see that it's there. It's another thing to have your kicker put it in the perfect spot and Alabama to recover it, not drop that thing and let it get away from you, get out of bounds, and Clemson gets the ball in great field position. Do we have Corn back? I'm told we have Corn back. All right, Corn.
Yes.
We hear you now.
Yeah. I'm over here by the Hoover Dam, so it's a little bit spotty. But I want to go back to your question about Deshaun Watson and the quarterback keepers. Me watching from him, a lot of that seemed to be predetermined calls in that they kind of knew what to do rush-wise, and they kind of knew that there would be some avenues if he back there and give it a chance to unfold. And with his exceptional speed, they knew he could beat Alabama's defenders to the sideline, and he would make a beeline toward the stick and just get enough for the first down or just enough to keep Clemson in a short yardage situation. So I thought that was really good play calling. Now, maybe some of that was ad-lib and play breaking down and him taking off. But to my eyes, I thought a lot of that was predetermined.
The ball Rick and he
Yeah.
was able to grab it.
Okay. Hey, Phil, can you hear us? Hello, Phil. We're on about a second delay. Phil? I don't think he's getting us.
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're not hearing
hello,
you.
hello, hello,
We're hearing you now. The connection's really bad, though.
hello, hello, hello.
It might be better. Can he come in through the phone, or is the phone
No.
bad? Yeah, this isn't
You
working.
can try the phone.
Yeah, this isn't working.
Okay.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, just conference them and call the 15 and see how that sounds.
Just had a bizarre thought that, in the Republic.
There we go. All right. Can you hear me? Okay. How about now?
Yeah, I hear you.
All right.
All right, 800-956-7266. Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes with you in our downtown Columbia studios here on Main Street, a stone's throw away from the State House, where later tonight, Governor Nikki Haley will be on a national stage with her response to the State of the Union address. That'll be happening right where we are, almost where we are, but we're talking about more important things. Well, to us anyway. We're breaking down the national championship with you. 800-956-7266 is the phone number. Kornblut on the line with us as well. He's reconnected with us, so you can chime in with your questions to Korn, who was at the stadium last night, took in all the pomp and circumstance. And Korn, real quick, it sounded like there was a decisive Clemson advantage in terms of the crowd.
Yes. Tiger fans were out in big numbers. They took over one half of the stadium, and even around the curve through the end zone, they were bleeding over there. And I saw orange over on the Alabama side as well. So listening to one of the Phoenix sports talk shows as I was heading out this afternoon, and one of their commentators was talking about all the Clemson people that he saw and the orange wave that he saw around Phoenix, and he was very impressed by the turnout. And that's not to be surprised. I mean, 34 years between national championship attempts. You know, the Clemson fans were going to be excited. Alabama fans were there in pretty good numbers, but Alabama fans have probably got to be dealing with a little bit of national championship fatigue, I think. Plus, listening to the same show, I understand the overnight television ratings were not very good. According to what they were saying, the rating was about a 15, which was well down from last year's national championship game. And it did not turn out to be, in terms of the college football playoff, did not turn out to be a good television season for them.
Yeah, well, ESPN put out a statement. They put it at 16 and said it was their third most watched sporting event ever on their platforms, and that's regardless of sport. But that still is down 15% from last year's national championship, and they were very pleased. I actually turned over to the ESPN2 and checked out that, and it was pretty cool to see the coaches breaking it down. They had Larry Fedora, Willie Taggart, Will Muschamp, Pat Narduzzi was there. And who was the I think that might have been it.
Florida's coach.
Oh, yeah, McElwain was there also. But it was at some point I had to get away from. There's just too much going on there. I felt like I was missing things. It was really cool to listen to the breakdown and see them talk about, this guy missed the A gap. This guy didn't get chipped here. This cornerback came in there afraid, or he came in there soft. But it was nice seeing that. But then, meanwhile, two other plays had happened, and I'm going, okay, I got to go back over to the broadcast. But it was neat hearing coaches break down film and break down plays, and from their perspective and using all their lingo and terminology. It's really good. And how they can see something. Korn, you see these coaches, and before the play happens, they're like, this guy's going to do this. This is the coverage, and it happens. I mean, it's such a chess match, and even people that are knowledgeable about football, they're on a whole nother level.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why. I mean, if you're a football coach and you're dealing with the media, and the media's coming at you from a particular angle, but let's face it, how many of us in the media who are questioning these guys really know what we're asking at their level? And I can understand how they sometimes get a little frustrated with some of the questioning. Now, but some in the media played the game at a high level and certainly understand the X's and O's, but I would dare say the vast majority of us don't really know the X's and O's like coaches do, like you heard last night. And I agree with you. It's fascinating conversation to hear them break it down.
Yeah, I mean, you want to feel like you are a football novice. Listen to those guys break down the plays, but you learn a lot. And in retrospect, I wish I would have recorded that instead of the regular broadcast, so I could go back and watch their breakdown of it. I even flipped over to the Feinbaum film room, and they had Brent Bielema, and he was pretty entertaining too, although I hope he has a good cardiologist. I mean, that guy looks like he could kill over at any moment.
Yeah. And
they were taking calls, and some guy called in at halftime. He said it had 8 already, was cheering for Alabama. So it was entertaining to watch it on all platforms while Korn watched it in person. We're up against the break here. We're loaded up on calls again, so we'll squeeze as many as we can. No recruiting tonight. The one night. Wow. The one night of the year, Korn, we're not doing recruiting. This is a special occasion with no recruiting. So that means more time for you. Coming up next hour, post-game reaction from the Clemson locker room, including Dabo Swinney and Deshaun Watson. Sports Talk continues here. Our national championship recap show on the South Carolina Radio Network.
Phil, you staying on the line?
Let's get as many as we can in here before the top of the hour break. So try to make your point as quickly as possible. Be as brief as you can as we go to Marty and Florence. Welcome in.
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
Well,
couple points. Number one, I'm a Clemson fan, so game didn't turn out quite like I'd like for it to have. But anyway, a couple of calls that you guys, I don't know if anybody else has called in about that I thought were a little questionable. Their offensive right tackle, number 76, and you could have called holding on that guy every play. He got beat every play. Couple of calls on Renfro down the field, one pass right down the middle of the field, and that looked like he got robbed, but of course no pass interference. Also, the clock issue right at the end of the first half had an outcome. I mean, that played an outcome. Looks like we maybe got a field goal there, a little more cushion.
No doubt about that one.
Mm-hmm. Now, about 3 of those holding penalties were declined by Clemson because it occurred when Coker was sacked anyway.
Yeah,
correct. Well, I mean, I'm talking about the ones that weren't called.
Yeah,
it was this guy was holding on pretty good. Even the touchdown that Alabama scored, I guess it was in the fourth quarter. They had the ball on the goal line. It took 3 tries to get in. And that last try, nobody signaled touchdown. This official comes running late, and he throws his hand up. So for me, even after watching the replay, I think if they didn't call that a touchdown, I don't know that it would have been reviewed upstairs and overturned. I think they'd had to settle for a field goal. I think that was also a big point in the game. We talked about the clock stuff before half. ESPN definitely, they're all about Alabama and the SEC. That they were on that pretty hard. But just looking at it, I think if those teams, unfortunately, you can't play 6 times. But I feel like if those teams played, another game, I don't know that Alabama can make those same plays. I think where Clemson's at, though, they could have made the same plays. And we heard all week about how great Alabama's defensive line was, but I got to say, Clemson's defensive line showed up to play as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well,
I'll hang up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just about to say that Clemson's defensive line had almost like a stationary target, whereas As I said before, Alabama's playing prevent defense because they can't just go upfield like they did against Cook against Michigan State when they sacked him about, I think, 6 or 7 times, because Deshaun Watson will come out of the other side and he may take it the distance at any point in time. But Clemson has nothing to be ashamed of. I think what really happened, as I said about the technical knockout, K-Mac, is the fact that so much depth that Alabama had that in those waning moments, you could see some of Clemson's players trying to make plays, but they were running out of gas. They were on fumes.
Corn, did you sense a little fatigue there in the latter part of that game?
I don't know that I said fatigue. I mean, look, Clemson's offense went down the field and scored with 12 seconds to go, so they still had some pep in their legs.
All right, top of the hour break. We'll pick this up. More of your phone calls coming up in hour number 2 and comments from Dabo Swinney and more.
Phil, you just want to call back at the close to the beginning?
La Columbia. This is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
A couple of quick notes that we want to pass along, then we'll jump back to your phone calls. Also coming up this hour, some post-game reaction from Dabo Swinney, Deshaun Watson, and others out of the Clemson locker room. USC announcing today that defensive back Chris Moody will not be back with the program. Actually, it was Moody that announced it on his Twitter feed. He's moving on from the program, going to graduate early. He's a redshirt junior out of Georgia, and he'll be eligible to play right away wherever he ends up. He was just not in the plans, and this is before Muschamp even, because he was actually part of the senior day festivities at South Carolina before the Clemson game. So this was in the works for a while with Chris Moody. This came down last night, probably got lost in all the flood of the national championship coverage, but Steve Taneyhill is out as Union County's head football coach. That was confirmed by Channel 7 last night. Tannehill's contract not renewed by the school board at its meeting last night. Tannehill spent 4 seasons with the program. The Yellow Jackets were 7-7, but won 3 games in the 3A Upper State playoffs before losing to eventual state champion South Point in the Upper State final. He was 22-27 in his 4 seasons. His first team in 2012 went 9-6 and lost in the 3A title game against Hartsville, and everybody remembers Steve Taneyhill as well from his playing days at South Carolina. And now that college football season is over, why not peek a little into the distance for college baseball? And to do just that, we've got the preseason poll out by D1Baseball.com. Florida is at the top of that poll. Louisville, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, and Oregon State rounding out your top 5 teams. And it's Miami, LSU, Oklahoma State, Cal, and NC State, 6 through 10. USC in the poll is number 17, and Coastal Carolina is number 24. Those are the only Palmetto State teams that are ranked. So there's a few notes for you.
Vandy's got a juggernaut. And we wanted to see what kind of pitching they come up with again this year.
Every year they have the pitching, and Louisville has some good pitching too, and Florida always has. You got to have pitching to be solid. But yeah, college baseball is not that far away. Let's go back to the phones here and get Wayne and Rock Hill before we hit the next break. Welcome in, Wayne.
Hey, good evening, guys. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Just got a comment or two and a couple questions. Long-time listener and first-time caller. Really enjoy the show. Just wanted to say that, you guys have a lot of listeners across the state, and just want to say that if anybody to watch that game last night from start to finish, regardless of which program you support, if you can't respect this Clemson team, then I don't know what to say other than you're an idiot. I mean, the team really showed a lot of heart last night. Left everything on the field, and as a Tiger fan, I couldn't be more proud. But Deshaun Watson, it's my understanding that the Heisman.
Hang on, I hate to cut you off. This is your first time on the show. Hold tight. We'll come back to you and let you finish that thought, but we got to hit a break here. Before we jump into some of the post-game comments after the national championship game last night, let's finish up with Wayne and Rock Hill, who ran into the hard break there. And Wayne, want to let you finish your thoughts there on Deshaun Watson.
Oh, yeah, sure. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just wanted to say, it's my understanding there's two camps in selecting of the Heisman Trophy winner. And one being, I guess, the argument of who's the best player in the country. Also here is, who's also a great player, but maybe means the most to their team. And K-Mac, I think you already touched on it earlier, that obviously last night there was nobody the best player on the field was. And secondly, yes, obviously, in my opinion, Sean was the best player on the field. Is there any question who meant more to their team in that game last night? And no disrespect to Derrick Henry or McCaffrey. McCaffrey's a great player, and they both had exceptional seasons. But again, I think, in my opinion, Watson really showed how important he is to Clemson. As you mentioned, without Deshaun Watson, they're probably a 9-win team. Looking ahead to this coming year, do you think maybe he gets more consideration this year, being on the stage as he was last night? Maybe more people really getting to take a look at him and seeing what kind of talent he is.
Well, yeah, I think he will. Sometimes to watch anytime you get in any situation where there's voting, politics is involved, and I really seriously think that K-Mac, they had gotten 3-4 quarterbacks in a row, and I think, other than the fact that he played with Alabama and carried the ball, I think the last game almost 50 times, I think that drew some votes to him. But no doubt that they might have already put Deshaun on the trophy. They're just waiting to see what the season is. They'll put his last name on the trophy.
Yeah, Corn, we both voted for him #1 on our ballot, and I don't regret that. I'm not ashamed of that vote at all. People called us homers for it, and certainly we are skewed in the fact that we've seen him play more. But we watch a lot of college football, and I agree with Wayne and Rock Hill, Corn, that there's not a more important player to his team than Deshaun Watson. And every game that I've watched him play in, he's been the best player on the field. Every single time, he's been the best player on the field.
Yeah. Clemson doesn't go 14-0. They don't have a chance to win last night without Deshaun Watson. And I think the entire country tuning in last night saw his multiple skills. He threw some beautiful balls last night. The touchdown passes to Renfro were great throws. And then, of course, he showed off what he could do with his legs. He is, now listen, he was playing against Alabama's defense. He had 478 yards of total offense. That's a championship game record against the best defense with the best coaching in the country, and they couldn't stop him. So, yes, the vote stands on its own merits, and I think it was proven last night that he's the best single football player in the country. The quarterback position is the single most important position on a college football team. So, put it all together, he should, if Clemson has a similar season next year, he stays healthy and does similar things, he should be the guy next year.
Yeah, one of those rare quarterbacks, Corn, that you can't explain it, but when he hits the field, even I think Clemson's defense plays better because they know that number 4, when they turn the ball over to him, they're liable to get a touchdown. So he's one of those guys that just lights a fire under both units.
Yeah, he's a great leader out there. His teammates love him. He's a great spokesman for Clemson. There's not a shred of controversy around him. And he's definitely going to be, if he wasn't already the leader, but they had other good leaders on that team. Eric McClain was an excellent leader. Of course, Shaq Lawson on the defensive side. But, Watson clearly stands head and shoulders above everybody else now moving forward. And, Clemson fans need to cherish him as long as they've got him because, who knows? Next year might be his last year in the orange and white.
Let's listen a little of the Clemson postgame last night at the podium. Corn, who did they bring in at the podium? I think we're going to listen to the main press conference here with Dabo Swinney and others.
Yeah, it was Dabo and Deshaun Watson and Eric McLean.
Let's listen in.
What a year. We're incredibly proud of our team. Obviously, we wanted to win the game, and we came up a little short. But I think that at least the nation saw tonight why we've been so successful. They saw the heart of our team. This is a team that just has incredible will to win and heart. And I think they gave us everything that they had. They competed. We outgained them. I thought we physically matched up great with these guys. Really proud of that. But championship football is a game of a few plays. And that's really what this one came down to, just a few plays. And I give them credit for that. I want to congratulate Alabama. Obviously, they've been a great champion. And, again, it was a slugfest out there. And I thought that they obviously the couple of special teams plays were huge momentum plays. But again, I'm just proud of our team because they kept playing, kept fighting, and, all the way to the end. So, it's just truly a few plays that make the difference. But for us, this is a great experience for our team against a team that represents the best. Really, happy for Coach Saban. 4 national championships. I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. It's really hard to win one. And, to have won 4, and for them, they had a lot of adversity in the game too. We really I thought hurt them in a lot of areas, but again, they hung in there and made those few plays. But for us and our team, first time in 34 years to have an opportunity to play for the national championship. 7 years ago, when I got this job, from day one, I said that we would win a national championship again. It was just a matter of when, and we just got to go to work and build our program, and that's what we've done. And I just can't say enough about our seniors. These guys have changed Clemson forever, and they finished in the top 10 3 out of their 4 years, won a bunch of games, set all kind of records at Clemson, and again tonight came up a little short. But give Alabama, but there's no doubt that we'll be back. It won't be 34 years before we're going to be back. I promise you that. Our team is built to sustain success. We've got the right ingredients from a toughness standpoint, talent standpoint, and then just the will to win and the culture that we have in our program. So we'll learn from this. We'll grow from it, and I appreciate our fans. I thought that the crowd was amazing tonight. I really, really appreciate our fans. My heart breaks for them too, because, like I said, it's been a long time since we've stood on top of the mountain, and, but we're not quite there, but we can see it, and we'll get there. So, I really love my team, and we'll go back to work on Thursday and kind of regroup and get ready for 2016. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Dabo, Mike Rated, WBMA Birmingham. First of all, congratulations on an outstanding season.
Thank you.
Secondly, on the onside kick, what were you so hot about on the sideline?
Well, we had the same play against South Carolina last year, and we caught the ball, and they took it away from us, said that we, didn't have an opportunity, didn't give them that no matter what, they have to have an opportunity to catch the ball. And so I was just arguing the call that went against us. So that's really it. But, great play by them. And it's a great kick. First of all, he put it right in a good spot, and their kid did a great job going and getting it. It was a huge play. But then we followed it up with a bust for a touchdown.
All right, Dabo Swinney giving a little explanation there on that onside kick. The one difference, again, South Carolina called for a fair catch on the attempt by Clemson. There was no fair catch last night in that matchup against Alabama. Yeah, the president's doing the State of the Union tonight. We're kind of doing the state of Clemson football right now. And the state of Clemson football is certainly strong despite the fact the Tigers lost in the national championship against Alabama. The future extremely bright because Deshaun Watson is back, and he's got to have a big season ahead of him, you would think, continue to improve and get better. Played outstanding last night, a record-setting performance, but came up a little bit short. Here's what he had to say after the game.
This game doesn't really matter if we don't get the W. But, a lot of people thought that they were just going to pound us, but we didn't. We toe-to-toe. Came down to the last play, so, we're going to be motivated, learn from this film, and get ready for next year.
Sean, even more individual accomplishments for you tonight. I mean, can you put into perspective how great of a season you've had, or is it just too fresh?
Still haven't soaked it in, but it's been a great year, for this team, for this program, and I've just been enjoying the ride. It's once in a lifetime opportunity, so thanking God for every opportunity He gives me, and I'm just taking advantage of it.
As the leader of this team, what do you say to your teammates going into next year?
Let's learn from it and get back to work. We got to grind harder, and just a few plays short, but we'll be back and just keep our heads held high and keep motivated and keep grinding.
How physical was this defense compared to other defenses you faced throughout the season?
It was no shocker. They were good, physical, but nothing that surprised us. We still did our thing, still did what we did, and had over 500 yards. So.
Were you hurt at any point during the game?
No, I was good.
Deshaun, you guys are probably going to start off as preseason #1 next year. You'll be the front runner for the Heisman. How will it be for Clemson to be the front runner as opposed to a team that you guys feel like it has a chip on its shoulder?
We don't really care about the rankings at the end of the day. We still gotta, take it one game at a time. We're one, all the way to this point. So we're still successful in one game. So at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's early in the season. It's still haven't even went through spring and summer. So who knows what going fold out. But we just have to see what happens.
How much will this loss drive you here in the offseason?
A lot. We were very close, a couple plays away. So, we got to grind a little harder. And if we do that, and really, capitalize on those plays we had that we missed, we'll be fine.
How about you personally?
I'm going to go back to work. I'm going to try to get better in my game and as a leader and as a teammate to make this program better.
Deshaun Watson, Corn, what's he going to do for an encore with this great season, that great performance in the national championship?
Well, why not go ring up 500 yards in total offense against Auburn on September 3rd? That'd be a great way to start.
The way Auburn's defense has played recently, that might be a realistic possibility.
Yeah. Gives them a chance to get off to a great start against a named team next year.
Yes, and Gus Malzahn will be on the hot seat going into this season. A lot of drama, those two teams. The last time they played in Jordan-Hare, overtime game that Auburn won, and they went on and won the whole stinking thing later that year.
They had a guy now who's with the Panthers, though.
Corn, when you were talking to the players last night in the locker room, obviously there's disappointment there. There's hurt. But what was the overall sense in terms of the future? Was there a sense of accomplishment, or were they just really beat down, still trying to get over the fact that they came so close to winning a championship and didn't quite get?
Well, keep in mind, I got in the locker room about a half hour after it was open.
Mm-hmm.
They opened the locker room up the same time they brought Dabo and the two players out for the main presser. So any emotions that might have been shed early after the game, you know, they were already over that by the time we got in there. That being said, I would say that they were hurt. They were stung. Again, they know that these opportunities are not guaranteed. And while they had a great year this year and had a chance to make history, becoming the first 15-0 team in FBS history, they can't sit there and Dabo can make the promise that they'll be back and all that, but he can't. He has no way of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, a lot of good things happened to this team this year. Unfortunately, a little bit of bad happened in losing Mackenzie Alexander in the first half. Shaq Lawson was able to play through his knee injury, but who's to say next season that they don't suffer some major injuries that will change the nature of the team? Or maybe not. Maybe they'll have another really healthy year, and they'll have another year where their opponents suffer untimely injuries, which was the case for them this year. Things fell into place for Clemson this year in terms of the opponents, the health of their team, and the talent of their team. No guarantee you're going to get that in 2016. All that being said, they'll have a roster with enough talent to beat everybody on their schedule once again, and to be playing first in Atlanta in a semifinal and then in Tampa in the national championship. And I guess I should say before that, playing in Charlotte for the ACC championship. So, yes, they were disappointed, but those who are returning, believe that they will be good enough to have a chance to be right back there come next January.
Well, you know, the key point is they can learn from the team across the field from them, where Alabama team just got, pummeled by Ohio State in the first game of the playoff last year, and they had to live with that, for the entire year. And then they stumbled against Mississippi, and they were blowing taps on Alabama, and that team weathered the storm and came back and used that energy of that defeat at the hands of Ohio State and came back this year and won a title. And that impetus just may have pushed them into that fourth quarter flurry to take Clemson out. So if Clemson shows up the next time, they'll know the bitter taste of that losing locker room and be ready to take the crown next year. If, as you say, Corn, a lot of things have to fall into place if they can run it. But I will say this. People can talk about the ACC all they want. You get healthy quarterbacks in there. The ACC is dangerous. Those teams are dangerous. North Carolina, it'd be interesting to see what their offense looks like next year. They seem to have enough players there that know the system now. And Florida State, yeah, they may be a little bit down, but they're not going anywhere. And Pittsburgh, it'll be interesting to see what Pittsburgh does because and Virginia Tech
and
with their
Louisville.
new coach.
Yeah, but they're going to be landmines along the way, and you have to get some breaks. Clemson caught their fair share of them throughout the season. Any team that gets to the national championship does. Alabama caught theirs. They wouldn't have been there if not for a fluky thing that happened in the Ole Miss-Arkansas game when the Razorbacks beat Ole Miss, and otherwise Ole Miss might have been playing in that game against Clemson. So you do have to get a lot of breaks, but Alabama's experience in that game, and you kind of touched on this, a remarkable stat for Nick Saban since he's been at Alabama. Every class that he has recruited, every single one of them have won at least one national championship.
Unbelievable.
Every single class that he has recruited has a ring. Let that sink in for a minute. And so when it's the fourth quarter and Clemson is trying to close that thing out, and you got a program and a bunch of guys that have not only played in big games but won them before, it's very difficult. And I think that was a big factor. You can't put that kind of experience into a game plan, and you can't experience that Clemson went through this year can help them going forward, but they still have to catch those breaks. And can they catch them a second straight year. Everything they touched this year turned to gold. One of those things that turned to gold, a walk-on turned star, almost the star of the game, stole the show for a little while. Hunter Renfrow with a couple of touchdown catches, and he was very active even outside of those 2 touchdown catches. And after the game, he caught up with reporters to share his thoughts on his performance against the Crimson Tide. Okay, hold on. We're trying to get Hunter Renfrow there. He's shifty, just like he was last night. Alabama didn't have any answer for him. He was a walk-on going into the season and was awarded a scholarship by Dabo Swinney and really earned that scholarship and then some last night with 2 touchdown catches.
It was fun, and hopefully represented Clemson well. And so we'll just remember the fun we had and loving on our teammates and stuff like that. So appreciate it.
I know you had 2 touchdowns in the regular season, and you had 3 in these 2 playoff games. Kind of how do you grade your performance the last 2 games and kind of going forward into the future?
I think the offensive line did a great job tonight and last game. And Deshaun put the ball in the money. And so coaches put trust in me, and it just worked out. So thankful for that. Appreciate
How
it.
special is it, for you, considering how you emerged this year to have this kind of role in the national championship game?
Yeah. We didn't get to win, which is pretty disappointing, obviously. But it's good for next year to build on this game, and so we'll try to do that.
How long will this defeat linger with you guys? I mean, is it something you can shake off pretty quickly and get your mind turned around the off-season work, or is this thing going to stick with you for a while?
I mean, obviously it's going to stick with you for a little bit, but I think it's pretty level-headed, and they got a genuine appreciation for what we have and not for what we don't have. And so I think that plays a big part in getting over yourself. So,
how much would you say that from the start of the season to now that you personally have grown as a football player?
Yeah, I think I've definitely grown experience-wise, and I need to get put on about 10 pounds this offseason at least. And so I'm just looking forward to that, and then try to leave the seniors next year with a better taste in the mouth than the seniors this year.
You like the chances of being back in this situation next year, going down to Tampa maybe?
Yeah, obviously you want to play for national championship every year, and so we're going to look forward to that next year.
Those 2 passes you caught, were they about as perfectly placed as you could ask for?
Yeah, they're unbelievable. Deshaun's a great player, and it showed it tonight, and it was 2.
All right, Hunter Renfrow with the big night for the Tigers, couple of touchdowns, very active, drew a pass interference, and was really Deshaun Watson's favorite target for a good portion of that game. Checking out Ben Boulware, one of our favorite guys on Twitter, Clemson linebacker, just saw this note that he posted late last night, it looks like, or this morning, I guess it would be. I usually don't write emotional stuff like this, but there's so many emotions going through my head right now. Don't even know what to think. I'm heartbroken because I left my heart out on that field, and it still wasn't enough. We didn't play a perfect game on both sides of the ball, but one thing I do know is that every man that wore the paw tonight emptied their tank. I'm heartbroken for the seniors on the team because they poured so much into our team. Their leadership is what got us to 14-0, and their leadership is what gave us the opportunity to be the best ever. I'm heartbroken for Clemson University because we let y'all down. Y'all supported us through thick and thin, and we are forever grateful for y'all's support. Thank y'all for being the best fans in the world. It's been an honor and a privilege to play for Clemson University, and I'm forever indebted to Coach Swinney and Coach Venables for giving me the opportunity to play with such a great university. We were doubted from the very beginning of the season, and no one thought we would have the opportunity to play for the national championship. No one thought we would stop Notre Dame on the 2-point conversion. No one thought we would stop Florida State on 4th and 1. No one thought we would beat Oklahoma 2 years in a row. Week in and week out, we proved our doubters wrong, and that's what made this team special. We don't care what the outsiders have to say. We are focused on Clemson and only Clemson. Although it's not an outcome we wanted, God is still God and God is still good. Thank you, Clemson Nation, for all the love and support. We will learn and grow from this. P.S. We'll be back. Get ready. That's Ben Boulware on Twitter. We will jump back to the phones here, 800-956-7266, a toll-free number. You can also hit us up on Twitter at Sports Talk SC or drop us an email, talkback@sportstalksc.com. Dale in Columbia is up next on the line.
Yeah, guys, also you can look at Alabama. I know it's only been 2 years, but they're the first two-time playoff appearance back-to-back.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, someone put that out. Yeah, because, they're the only one of the four that made it.
Mhm.
Oregon didn't make it back. Ohio State and Florida State didn't make it back. So they made it back in back-to-back years. And I also will say this, that Sean said that they will be in Tampa next year. And do you think with the landscape of college football changing, will, if he's still there, being Coach Saban, try to upgrade the quarterback play? Because the days of just playing good solid defense and having a serviceable quarterback may be gone, because I'm telling you right now, that game last night, that quarterback for Alabama, in my opinion, and some of the play calling were a little questionable. You get it to Henry, 1st and 10, they get 5 yards. Now it's 2nd and 5. You go play action instead of him getting rid of the ball. He's running around right now. He gets sacked. Now it's 3rd and 12, and Clemson teed off on him. So, they were very fortunate to win the game last night. Clemson gave a good show of themselves, but do you think that Nick Saban will change his ways, or will he go what works with him in that conference?
No, he'll change his ways defensively, but he loves the play action. He loves the quarterback that throws it on time. He's one of those throwbacks that can get away with it. The other team that does that also is Stanford. Those two teams are very successful in doing that, but it's rare to see it. But some coaches like the old style quarterback, and it works if you have stout offensive lines. And let's face it, Alabama doesn't see a quick defensive line like Clemson every day. Plus, Clemson was doing some interesting, exotic things last night, like dropping the ends now again and sending the linebackers. They were doing some strange things, had Alabama's offensive line confused.
I wonder what they're going to do with that offense. Lane Kiffin, most people think he's going to find another job somewhere. I don't know if you saw this story, Corn. He got left at the stadium. Alabama rolled out and left him at the stadium, didn't even wait for him. The buses left him, and ESPN actually had it. It was on the Scott Van Pelt. He's talking to a guy.
Yeah,
and
he's
like,
along to talk to him,
yeah, he's like, hey, hold on, wait up. And he's hold that last bus, but nope, he got left there and did not.
But you see his Twitter page, he showed the ramp out on the tarmac of the Delta. Made it.
No, he made it that time. And yeah, I know Chip Kelly visited Alabama before the game. Boy, that would be a coup if Nick Saban hired Chip Kelly to call his plays next year and do speedball. But Alabama's always looking to upgrade. Corn. Nick Saban's always looking to upgrade. He's always trying to get better. I saw it in an interview last night. He's on the plane, and they're doing interviews with him, and he's breaking down the film already on the plane back to Tuscaloosa. That's just how Nick Saban's wired.
Well, Nick Saban is the same guy that his wife had to tell him to get the heck out of the stadium when he was the coach of the Dolphins when a hurricane was heading up. Darling, I'm watching film. No, you get your tail home is what you do. Yeah, the interesting thing is, I think the caller brought up something interesting, Corn, as you said, nothing's guaranteed. At this time last year, Ohio State winning the crown, they had not one, not two, but three guys that were great quarterbacks. They had Joey Bosa, a tremendous defensive end that everybody say would be the first defensive end drafted out of this year's draft, and they didn't make it back.
Exactly. Again, football teams are fragile animals, and it doesn't take much to knock you out of whack. Alabama this year came back. Mentioned it earlier in the program. Having lost that game to Ole Miss, they needed some help in the SEC to be back in a position to win their division and play for the championship. So, things broke their way this year too, and Clemson had a lot of things go its way as well. So, but if you just look at it on paper and you look at the return personnel and you look at the schedule, there's no reason to think that Clemson won't be right back there competing for it next year.
All right, let's go back to the phones, 800-956-7266, and also on Twitter at SportsTalkSC. In fact, we had a tweet earlier. Somebody was tweeting us that he doesn't want to hear any Clemson fans moan about the calls the refs made, especially on the onside kick after what happened in the ACC championship game. That's from Grover on Twitter. So yeah, everything does kind of equal out in the long run, I suppose. And I don't think they got the call wrong on the onside kick. Now, maybe they got it a little goofy in that South Carolina game 2 years ago. But the one difference that you can cite is the Gamecock guy was calling for a fair catch, and Clemson snatched it before he got a chance to make the fair catch. Last night, nobody called a fair catch. Back to wrap things up. Whether you're a Carolina Gamecock or you bleed Clemson orange, all South Carolina college, all Carolina college football fans can agree on Founders Federal Credit Union with a convenient location on USC's campus and a Clemson office coming soon. Founders is a sure fan favorite. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. All right, we lost our call, so that's going to do it for calls. I don't know that we have do we have time to squeeze a couple comments from BJ Goodson? And let's get one more interview in here. BJ Goodson, another strong performer on the Tiger defense last night.
Gave a great effort tonight. We came short on some mistakes, and we got to live with it. I'm proud of my guys, for the way that we fought, and I look forward to watching our team next year.
What happened with Howard in particular? How did y'all continually lose him in coverage?
Just a couple butts on the back end, but in games like this, the margin for error is very small, man, and just can't have them. Yeah.
You sacked Coker, I think 5 times in the first half, 4 times in the first half, not so much in the second half. Did they change anything up in their blocking scheme or the way he was getting rid of the football in the second half?
Not at all. I think the way that the way that they were running plays and just their offensive coordinators, train of thought of how his combination of plays, they kind of changed, and so I think that played a factor in it.
How painful is it to have special teams plays really play a big role in really turning this game around?
Well, on a play like that, you can't have your guard down, and obviously, you have to be ready for those moments. But they happen, man, and we got to live with it.
How do you sum up the season? I mean, you guys 14-0, a chance to make history. You come up a little bit short. And you reflect on this season. What will you remember?
That we're arguably the greatest Clemson team of all time, man, and I cherish it, and it's a privilege to be a part of it, and a privilege to be able to lead these guys, man. It's a lot of great talent, man. It's a privilege for these guys to let me lead them, and I'll cherish that forever.
Well, Corn, they'll be one of the greatest Clemson teams of all time, probably number 2 on that list. That lack of a championship will keep them behind the 81 team.
You think maybe Danny Ford and Chuck Reedy and company were popping some champagne last night?
No. I think they wanted the Tigers to win.
Hey, you're probably right. They're not that selfish. You're probably right. But until you get the ring, 81 is still the thing.
Corn, have a safe trek back. I know you're going to see all sorts of fun locations, Chicago, Minneapolis. We look forward to having you back on. And then you're going to Clemson Duke, so you're going to be very busy.
All right.
Everyone,
we'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Everyone have a great night. Same time, same place. Tomorrow night we'll reconvene here on Sports Talk.